regardless of how you feel about it, the loss on Saturday, I think it hurt DJ Durkin's chances to be Auburn's next head coach.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. LindsAy Crosby of thebarnauburn.com, as well as several other places, hanging out with us as he does every single Monday. The plan for Mercer after the bye week, kind of interesting. Did Cam Coleman's performance, could it help with player retention? I think so. Well, let's start with DJ Durkin, because we all kind of saw this as a tryout, as an audition. These last 3 games of the season, he is now 0-1. I think, most people assumed he would go 1-2. Can you overachieve on that? And then does it put you in the conversation? I think the loss on Saturday hurt his chances. And I don't know if anybody's going to be like, oh my goodness, like just because the offense was better, it really helped his chances. But I do think that in all, is still the inability to win in crucial moments is still the biggest thing to me. And like, you can't culturally fix that in 6 days. I'm not saying this is entirely fair to DJ Durkin. Mm-hmm. But the default reaction to this is to click reset, to start over. When something's not working on your computer and you call support, what's the thing they're going to ask you to do? Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on? I think that's what the natural reaction is for this football program. And as much as I would love for DJ Durkin to be a part of it, a lot of these candidates that are popping up, I'm not sold that this weekend helped him despite the offense finding a rhythm.
Yeah. And it's funny because I came out of the game feeling really good about the offense. Like, hey,
sure,
the pieces you have can get it done. And then you start to think a little bit more about it and you're like, well, the defense had a really rough day, obviously. I'm not mad about Saturday. And I think part of that is because how the season's gone so far.
Sure.
But I think I am kind of on the point of the defense was bad the first time you ask the guy who calls the defense to be in charge of the entire team. It did make me think, I don't know if has Durkin capped out at a coordinator for that reason. But then also it made me start thinking about the next coach. And I'm like, do you need to just stay away from guys who insist on calling their own offense or calling their own defense? Because yes, there are people who can do it, but it feels like not everybody can. And a lot of the examples in even recent Auburn history, when the guy in charge has been calling plays on one side of the ball, it feels like they've underperformed their potential. And so now I'm like, get me a dude who's a great recruiter, who can delegate really well and let the sides of the ball run themselves.
Yeah. And once again, I don't think this is all entirely fair to DJ Durkin. Some of the things that he was able to do in 6 days were extraordinary. And then some of these things that, kind of the big picture things I'm talking about are still culture. When you have an opportunity to win the game, can you? And the answer has been no every single time this season. Is it unfair to expect that with him being, there for 6 days?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is yes, it is unfair to expect that. But when you get so close and you find that, and then the reason you lose is because of what got you in this situation to begin with, the defense being spectacular until Saturday, I do think that hurts you. I do think, and I love DJ Durkin, and I hope the next coach wants DJ Durkin on this staff. But I don't think, as of right now, DJ Durkin is Auburn's next head coach.
Yeah, I've kind of already mentioned it once, but the immediate significant, severe regression in the defense as soon as the guy in charge of it takes over as the head coach makes you feel like, okay, it's clear he might just be spread a little too thin. Auburn's what was it? Auburn gave up. I had that here. Auburn gave up 544 yards of on defense. It's the most in a conference game in 2 years. Now, on offense, that's the like
They cooked. They were great.
yards. Yeah, that's more yards. Justin Ferguson, shout out Auburn Observer, more yards they had in any SEC game in 6 years. But like, it's the whole thing of immediately after he took a promotion to interim head coach, his side of the ball fell apart. And it's like, well, that's me. I'm a little more skeptical in the whole concept of the head coach calling plays and being successful. Cause like it happens in college, but it feels like at the highest levels, not that often. Like Lincoln Riley's an offensive genius. USC doesn't look good on offense, right? There are a couple of guys who can do it. Like Lane Kiffin still calls his offense, but at the same time, that's also, I'd argue Ole Miss is maybe, not quite considered the top tier with everybody else, right? Kirby Smart's not calling the
They've been good right now. Yeah, Kirby's like defensive guys. I do think it's a little bit different than offense, but still, like the fact that he did not do a good job on that this past week, that may hurt that argument. But also, there were so many systems he probably had to put in place this week. Like, does that impact, prep? Like, probably.
He's not calling plays though, is he? It's
on defense. He is.
I thought it was Glenn Schumann calling plays. Okay, that makes a lot of sense then.
Oh, for Kirby?
Yeah, for
does Kirby not call his defense?
I didn't think Kirby called his defense. I thought
okay,
Glenn Schumann called his defense because some of the whole criticism.
That's more your argument of do you want a true CEO? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I would like a guy who has vision, who's steering the ship with all of this. And I think there's a few of those guys that have popped up that I think would fall into that. Jon Sumrall, I think, would fall into that. James Franklin, I think, would fall into that. But then, like, there's been some momentum, it seems like, for Jeff Brom. He's going to call plays.
Yep.
Kenny Dillingham, he's probably going to call plays. So I'm not entirely sure that that's exactly what Auburn's going to get unless, I said last week, I think Jon Sumrall is the most likely option at this point. I still feel that way. I might feel that way even more after this weekend. But the aspect of, Auburn's defense struggling, how much of it was that and how much of it was, it sounded like Durkin was pretty honest after the game where Vandy just changed their offense and did a bunch of stuff they were not expecting in the second half, which once again, fine with the honesty. I just wonder if it had been a normal week of prep for him and where he was just prepping for the defense, could that extra time investment put him in a situation to then possibly see that coming? Or is that too much to ask for?
Yeah, they went and they spread it out. They were running tempo, and it's different from what they had done, right? They had done a lot of heavy sets, a lot of, running the ball, a lot of pre-snap movement, and they just started spreading it out and just going incredibly fast. And it felt like the 2-minute drive at the end of the half is where that really that worked so well. They just stuck with it and Auburn couldn't figure it out. Auburn kind of did something similar. Like Auburn also kind of spread it out a little bit and went with more tempo, and it helped both teams. But yeah, I'm with you. It feels like that was something that maybe you either are expecting or you've covered. If you're just the defensive coordinator, you've discussed hey, if they do this, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to simplify the defense to keep up with them from a pace perspective and not get overwhelmed trying to get calls in and substitutions in. And none of that plan was there. And they never really figured it out the rest of the game. Auburn just never had an idea in the second half of how to stop them.
You're right.
And how, except for when they called incredibly dumb plays, like an outside quarterback run on 4th and 1. That
was crazy. Really, and they didn't take the field goal. That was insane.
That was wild.
Absolutely insane. Hey, we couldn't do more with that decision on their part, but oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well. Cam Coleman's breakout, could that help with player retention across the board? I think so. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Wayfair. LindsAy, the holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready for it. Whether you need more seating for guests or you need cozy new linens or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help make your space shine. Do you want to guess how much you could potentially save on Wayfair's Black Friday deals?
I'm going to guess it's something modest, like 20%.
What if I told you it was more? Try again.
I'm going to guess it's 40%.
Almost double, but not quite.
Holy cow. That is absurd.
70%.
That is nuts. That is nuts.
Well, here's what's crazy. You're probably like, oh, well, it's Black Friday sale, so I've got to wait a little bit. That's probably what you're thinking, because Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving. Well, you don't even have to wait. Black Friday on Wayfair deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. So don't miss out on early Black. Wow, why can't I say Black Friday? I'm to keep saying Black Friday. Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale. Nailed it that time, for up to 70% off on Wayfair. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. AlumniHall.com. It's where you can buy all of your Auburn gear. You're wearing an Auburn hat. You got that from Alumni Hall.
It is. I'll be playing some baseball here. I'll be swinging.
Yes.
We
when
love
you walk
Alumni
into the
Hall.
Tigertown location in Opelika, it's just bang, hat wall. That's probably where you got it.
My favorite kind of walls. Hat. Pretty high up there, Zach.
Yes. What's number 2 on your favorite walls?
Favorite walls? Probably the emotional one I've put up between me and Auburn football.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
They can't hurt me anymore,
AlumniHall.com,
Zach.
or they've got 3 great physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Cam Coleman erupted, arguably his best performance as an Auburn Tiger. 10 catches, 143 yards, and a touchdown. He also got a very crucial 2-point conversion to tie it up there late in just moments. Like, you could tell he was taking over the football game. I love that DJ Durkin afterwards was like, yeah, he's really good. He and Eric Singleton are really good. So we decided to get them the football, and it worked. It worked. As you said, Auburn had 563 yards of total offense. They were part of that. And look, they were saying in the notes afterwards, in Auburn's records, as far as they can tell, it appears that it's the first time Auburn has had 2 receivers have 10 or more catches in the same game, which is absurd, which is insane.
Nice.
So does this type of impact, 1, does it make Cam Coleman want to stay here? And 2, could that attract other people when it comes to production to stay at Auburn? Look, I mean, I think we all have the same list of guys we're concerned about. Cam Coleman, Deuce Knight, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, all offensive guys. We'll see. We can have a conversation about the defense in a second.
Yeah.
But does this give them a glimpse of hope and say, okay, I can be successful at Auburn. These guys around me, I can be successful next to them. I just got to trust that Auburn's going to make the right hire next year, and we'll see where everything falls. I think Cam Coleman loves Auburn. I really do. And I've made the comment a few times, like, Cam Coleman's not necessarily the guy that I'm worried about. And I just think, Cam Coleman and the way he acts, like, I have a hard time seeing him leave, Lindsay. Maybe that's orange and blue glasses, and it's going to be devastating if I'm wrong on this. But I just have a hard time seeing him leave right now.
I think a little bit of it's orange and blue glasses, but at the same time,
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
But at the same time, I've had a similar feeling in that specific situation, because the Auburn Tigers have shown they understand how good he is. And even when the offense was not playing very well, they were still trying to, like, he was still the starter every game. And we've seen them be able to key him and prioritize him at times. The guys I really worry about, to your point, and from your list, are some of the guys a little farther down that grouping who have not gotten the same attention from
Malcolm Simmons.
Yep. Perry Thompson.
Yeah. Perry's come on a little bit as of late. I'm wondering if that's enough. And I think he loves it here too.
Yeah.
I think he loves it here too. So I'm not as concerned about Perry as I am Malcolm. I mean, there was all that chatter about another team really pursuing him, and it sounded like it forced Auburn to pay him more. I don't think they're going to do that again with him this offseason. So it's going to be up to Malcolm if he wants to stick around. So he's one of the ones I'm concerned about. But outside of that, like, do teams go after some of these younger offensive linemen who their turn's about to come up? What happens with Jeremiah Cobb, I think, is interesting. I mean, he's had so many different chances to leave and he hasn't. Like, I think he's made it pretty clear that he's the guy. And so, like, I don't know why you would wait forever. And then when it's finally your turn, then leave. I don't think that makes a ton of sense.
No.
And then, like, Darrell Robinson, I think, is somewhat interesting. Omar Mabson seems like he wants to be here. But the offense outside of those guys, like, and look, maybe I'm overreacting to Malcolm and Perry, right? Like that'd be the best case scenario. But all that to say is, like, I don't think the portal is going to be as devastating as we think it's going to be, or maybe as some Auburn fans think it's going to be.
Especially with the new changes about even when you hire somebody, it takes 5 days to actually be able to enter the portal.
When Auburn hires someone, that won't impact them based on the timing of it. So they'll only be able to enter in January is my understanding of the rule.
Okay. So then Auburn has plenty of time. Like that coach has plenty of time to establish with them the plan on how we're going to use you.
Hire coordinators, hire position coaches, have an infrastructure in place to kind of throw the kitchen sink and whatever's available NIL wise to get guys to stay.
I think that's knowing that I feel a little bit better there on some of these guys. I do think probably one of Perry and Malcolm, just based on the different, like Malcolm Simmons has not disappeared in 2025, but he's definitely a much smaller part of the offense now than he was last year. And
right. And some of that's just the offense has stunk. But even though, like, he had a prime opportunity early on Saturday, it hits him in the hands and he drops it. So, like, I think Malcolm's been my guy every week where I'm like, all right, who's going to pop this week? I've said Malcolm like every game. And sadly, I haven't been right, which stinks. But I think, I hope Malcolm stays. He's a dynamic athlete, but I just don't think there's any way we keep everyone. The defensive side gets interesting because I think some of that depends on DJ Durkin. I think some of it depends on, like, where DJ Durkin is, if he's here or not, and in what role is he in. I take that back. I don't think the role that he's in matters. I think it's just if he's here or not.
If he's here,
because these players love him.
Yeah, I mean, every quote that we got from guys were like, talking about doing it for Durkin, right? They were going out there trying to, crush Diego Pavia. They were trying to be Merkin for Durkin. Like, they really wanted to just take down Diego Pavia and do it for him. So, like, I do think retaining him ends up being important. Which
can that go into your decision for your next head coach? I go back and forth on how much you should weight that. It matters, but how much does it matter? My opinion on that changes like day to day.
For me, it's one of those things. And this is not likely to happen, but if I'm John Cohen and I have two candidates that I think are equal in just about every way, but one's an offensive guy and one's a defensive guy, is that the tiebreaker? Well, if the offensive guy is willing to keep DJ Durkin and just let him run that side of the ball for you, does that mean that I am now going to hire him over the defensive guy? But things are never.
If you had Braum or Dillingham and you kept Durkin on staff, like, I think we're competitive next year.
Yeah. Especially if you don't if some of your big impact players, like, just some of your very impressive young defensive players don't walk. Right. You're keeping your Malik Autry, you're keeping some of these young guys. I think absolutely.
Amaris. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Xavier Atkins isn't trying to transfer. I know he's a sophomore. He'll be an upperclassman next year, but still, right? Like, you're in the situation where you're immediately competitive with that setup, provided that you get the quarterback right, whether it's Deuce Knight or whoever else you bring in. And that's all another series of shows later in the year. But
no, I mean, I think we're about to jump into it. I mean, you just hit it. The plan for Mercer now is fascinating because of the quarterbacks. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Can you imagine wagering anywhere other than with our friends at FanDuel, Lindsay Crosby?
Listen, I have been all over the 2026 World Series odds on FanDuel. People who know Lindsay Crosby know, big baseball guy. And looking at who they have favored to win the World Series is incredibly interesting, as well as what free agency is going to do to that. I've been all over FanDuel every day.
Where are the Braves? Are they top 10 odds?
They are tied for 9th at plus 2,000. They've actually fallen back a spot recently. Okay. The Blue Jays were behind them, and the Blue Jays are now ahead of them in the odds since the World Series ended. But the Braves are 9th. They're 4th best odds in the National League to win the 26 World Series.
There you go. Yeah, and obviously, FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA as well. Of course, the NBA is back, so get in on the action. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The interesting thing about Mercer, I think there's so much that goes into this. Thankfully, it's after a bye week. I do think that'll benefit DJ Durkin and this staff, gives them time to maybe implement some new things, get their feet set up under them. I think that was the original plan, but Kentucky happened, and so they couldn't go another day. They couldn't go another day with Hugh Freeze. So now what happens? You've got decisions to make. Obviously, it's been well documented. Ashton Daniels, he can't play in both of these games and come back next year. He can't get redshirted. That would be 5 games of action. So do you sit him and then say, okay, which I think we all agree that sitting him is the right call, both for Auburn and for him as a human. If he wants to play another year, like you have to allow him that. I think you have to allow him. They'll make that call if that's true or not.
Yeah.
And then who do you start against Mercer? Do you go with Deuce Knight, who, clearly if he had put it all together by now and was truly the best guy, which is what we've heard from some folks, you kind of would have thought he would have gotten a chance by now. I'm a little surprised he hasn't gotten a chance by now. Or do you go with Jackson and say, hey man, you got one more shot here. Like, we need you. Let's go do this. As an Auburn fan, I want to see Deuce. But then there's all that stuff with Deuce, and how he acted on social media. Like, does Durkin hold that against him in this decision? And would it shock me if he did, Lindsay? As an Auburn fan, I want to see Deuce in this. And man, you talk about like igniting and exciting a fan base. I think that would be awesome. That also would kind of like let you know a little bit better of a picture of what you have in Deuce as far as the future. And you also got to think it would allow Deuce to, be happier here if that's in question. And I'm not sure that it is. I think it kind of depends. Some of the stuff that he acted on social media, how much of it was him being upset with Auburn and how much of it was it being upset at Hugh Freeze. I think that's an important distinction to make because the two are no longer joined.
Yeah. And we just like flat out, we just don't know that. There is a flip side and a downside to starting Deuce against Mercer. And it's not as likely when you consider the opponent, but what if Deuce Knight comes out against Mercer and is bad? Like everybody, and I'm not saying he will, right? But the assumption when everybody discusses this is they say Mercer's an automatic win, and do you play Deuce and let him impress you to save Ashton Daniels' red shirt, or do you play Jackson Arnold? What if Deuce plays and he's bad? Yeah. I do think you run in, like, to your point, you do get information. Information is valuable. You do find out what does he have. Can he potentially be a factor next year? Because if you do this plan, you have Ashton Daniels coming back for another year. You have Deuce Knight. And if their new coach brings in a transfer quarterback, you have plenty of options. But if Deuce Knight's bad, I do think that forces your hand a little bit as far as, okay, well, now it's got to be Ashton Daniels or a transfer. And maybe now that transfer quarterback costs you more money because they know, oh, you need me. This is not just I have a chance to compete. So like there is a downside to this, but I do agree with you. I think Deuce Knight needs to be the guy. There's no benefit to playing Jackson Arnold.
Let's try to think of one, but just for the sake of conversation, outside of if Durkin feels like he can't play Deuce because of the risk some of the social. I keep referring to it as social media stuff because off-field behavior seems way more dramatic than what that is.
Yeah. Okay.
So outside of that, can we come up with an argument for Jackson?
I think the argument you can have here for Jackson Arnold is he has looked bad in 2 SEC offenses, but Arkansas was a terrible situation, and Auburn under Hugh Freeze was a terrible situation. We saw what Ashton Daniels did the first game without Hugh Freeze. If Jackson Arnold, with a more sensible and normal offense, like offensive game plan and play calling, if he looks more like the quarterback you thought he was when you recruited or when you got him out of the portal, or that Oklahoma thought he was when you recruited him, that maybe does right by him in giving him an opportunity to find a job next year somewhere else. It's not going to be Auburn. I think we all know it's not going to be Auburn.
It doesn't need to be.
It doesn't need to be. But it sends a signal to the locker room that, hey, this is a new slate. We are willing to give everybody a look. We will, you will determine how much you play by how good you are on the field.
Are your hamstrings okay? Because you were stretching.
I was really stretching. I really don't think Jackson Arnold has it.
You nailed the assignment for sure. But I was just worried. Are your hamstrings okay? Because if I stretched that much, they would snap.
God, I took on so much water that I am drowning right now. Just trying to. I was trying to land this plane and it's full of holes.
No, I think you did great. I think you did great. I mean, I guess you got to ask the question if you're this coaching staff, because if you are this coaching staff, you got to think what is best for me as far as putting stuff on tape for me to explain in job interviews this offseason.
Okay.
And does Jackson give you a better chance in job interviews? Or can you just, even if Deuce does underperform, is it okay for you to be like, look, and given that situation, I had to go with a freshman. I had to.
Hey, if Pat Nix, if Nix can come out there and make Jackson Arnold look like a SEC caliber quarterback in his first start under Nix, that does a lot for his job prospects going forward. Because the whole thing about coming to Auburn was he never really had a chance to call plays.
Unfortunately, because he was awesome. Yeah. He was great.
So here's my question to you, Zach. I know we're almost out of time here.
Sure.
What is there any scenario where you consider going to Ashton Daniels? Let's say Deuce Knight plays and Deuce has to leave the game for some reason, and Jackson looks bad, and you're in danger of losing to Mercer.
You got to win the game.
Do you send Ashton Daniels out there knowing that, hey, if we use you for 2 drives in the fourth quarter, we win the game? Now either you miss Alabama or you can't redshirt?
I think Ashton would be okay with that. Personally.
Yeah.
Just based off of the kind of guy that he seems like he is. I mean, that's not ideal, so I don't think it's fair to him.
And it's a very long shot that you can't you lose 2 quarterbacks in the same game. But just trying to figure out, is there a scenario where you throw Ashton in there in an emergency?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's they'll have all these discussions. You also get 2 weeks for Deuce to prepare if you wanted to go that route.
I think that
timing makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. I'm going with Deuce if it's me. Jackson's the backup.
The more we discuss it, the more I think about it, the more it's like, what do we like?
It's not even a conversation. Deuce is the guy.
Yeah. I'm with you. Do
you flat out come out and say, does Durkin come out and say, listen, Ashton wants to play next year and I can't play him against Mercer and then have him against Alabama and let him come back? Do you just come out and admit it? Or do they say he's not going to be available and not explain why?
I don't think you need to explain it. He's going to be asked that question, though. I don't know what you do in that situation. I think I would, from a generating buzz in the fan base, I want to say like Deuce, we're trying to give Deuce a shot here.
Yes.
I think
we want to give Deuce a shot. We thought this is the best scenario for him to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you want to win over like the court of public opinion, like start Deuce Deuce against Mercer. Yeah, and give Ashton 3 weeks of prep for Alabama. Like I don't hate that either. So I don't hate that either. Such a weird situation we find ourselves in.
It really is.
LindsAy, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball, all of the Auburn content, the Bar in Auburn, and then the Atlanta Braves content, bravestoday.com and the Braves Today podcast.
Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.